Mark Dantonio named his starting quarterback for the 2013 season opener against Western Michigan today, and it's going to be senior Andrew Maxwell getting the first crack at the job after starting all 13 games last season. What was interesting, though, is when the depth chart was released by Michigan State, all 4 quarterbacks on the roster were listed as co-starters with oars next to their name. After a fall camp and a spring practice that left very few answers at the position, this is a pretty unique situation to be in heading into the first game, but we do know that Maxwell will get the first crack at it. Dantonio did say that all 4 will get playing time in the first few games, though, so they'll all get their shot against the Broncos. Dillon, what do you make of this situation?
Well, there's an old adage in college football and rec football in general that if you have 2 quarterbacks, you really don't have 1 quarterback. That adage doesn't seem to address having 4 quarterbacks, though, and that's the dilemma that Michigan State comes into the season with now. I mean, I guess it's kind of a blessing and a curse that you have Andrew Maxwell returning. He started 13 games a season ago, and he was, not always the strongest pick, but now he has another year under his belt, as do his receivers, and the offensive line remains healthy. So things that he was not really having the benefit of a season ago. So you look at that. But I think if he struggles, I mean, you have Connor Cook, who's been pushing him hard. He spent the summer working with George Whitfield Jr. out in California, and he's been playing very, very strong. Came in at the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl and performed amicably. So that's something you're going to look toward. You look at Tyler O'Connor and Damian Terry, and you got 2 young guys that could certainly push the fold. And if things really get down and dirty, I think those guys could come in and do well. I still think Damian Terry gets redshirted, but he has the skills, and he has the skills, and he could do well as a starter.
Well, yeah, I feel like we have four young people who are major college quarterbacks. They've got great arm strength. They have size. Some are lacking in experience. Some have more experience. Right now, we've allowed sort of the competition to take place. Sort of knew where we were going with this probably after last Tuesday, but I felt like the most important thing to do was sit and talk to our players initially before going forward and making it known to everybody else out there. So Andrew Maxwell will be our starter. I think what he does is he brings consistency in terms of his knowledge of our offense. He's got to make good decisions. He's got experience with 13 games last year. He's got a chance to get back into the arena, put his foot down, plant, as I always say, plant and drive forward. And very, very confident that he's going to have a great football game for us. He's been very impressive, especially last night, but very impressive here these last number of practices as well.
And it's not a surprise to me, I don't think you either, that Maxwell's getting this first crack at the job after, like we said, starting every game last year. It's not a big surprise that Maxwell's going to be the guy.
No, of course not. I mean, I think going into camp and coming out of it, I think a lot of the media, a lot of the fans expected Andrew Maxwell to be the guy that was going to be the starting quarterback. And here we are, on Tuesday, the game coming up on Friday, that Andrew Maxwell's the guy, and fans aren't always going to be like that. Mark Dantonio asked the community to come together and try to move forward together and try to see that, Andrew Maxwell's a college student, he's a good kid, and he could be a much better quarterback this season than he was a year ago. So I'm looking forward to seeing if Andrew Maxwell really has what that takes. It remains to be seen, I guess. We'll see against Western Michigan Friday at Spartan Stadium.
Right, and Dantonio praised the leadership of Maxwell last week. Without being named a captain, still named him a strong leader on this team. So it'll be interesting to see moving forward. I think it's a unique situation that after a spring practice and after a fall camp, we still don't have a definitive guy. But it's clear that Maxwell's going to get the first shot to be the guy. And,
sure.
Like Dantonio said, I think the players are going to prove themselves on the field. So what we've heard so far could go out the window in these next 3 games. So stay tuned to the next edition of the quarterback battle.
Good, Richard. For the State News, I'm Dillon Davis, Stephen Brooks, signing off.